Hey, welcome to Business Talk, our weekly University of Rio Grande OSU South Center's podcast show. We're here at the University of Rio Grande's TV and radio studio, and not only are we doing live internet radio through Blog Talk Radio, we're also on the Jackson Educational Access Channel and Channel 17, University of Rio TV. Our podcasts are archived and placed on the YouTube for viewing and listening again. Our mission is simple: to promote the University of Rio Grande and its diverse educational programs, promote the Ohio State University South Centers and its many business technology programs, to promote small businesses and its support organizations, and finally promote Southern Ohio, a great place to live, learn, and enjoy life to the fullest. Co-hosts are Mike Thompson, Director of the Center for Small Business Entrepreneurship, and Jason Winters, Director of the Center for Small Business Entrepreneurship. And Mike Thompson, sorry, Mike, you're the Instructional Design and Media Services Director.
Yeah.
So I gave you a promotion.
Jason's on assignment in
Yes.
Zimbabwe, I think, right?
Building fences, from what I understand. We also have Patrick Dengel, Business Development Specialist, and Kimberly Rausch, Program Assistant with the Ohio State University South Centers. Nate Walzer, he's on assignment too. He's out helping individuals learn about soccer and what it's like to play sports in the heat, because it is the summer months. Mike, our society has become a very viral way of life in using computer technology that fosters innovation, growth, understanding, and direction. And it's our pleasure to have two individuals that know a great deal about computers, yourself, Mike, and then also our special featured guest, Dwayne Rigsby. He's a technology coordinator with the Ohio State University South Centers. And he's going to be talking about a number of different things. But before we get into the specialties that Dwayne has, Dwayne, welcome to the show, and tell us about yourself.
Yeah, who the heck are you?
Yeah, who the heck am I? Well, let's see. I started out a long time ago. No, as Patrick said, my name is Dwayne Rigsby. I started with the university at Piketon before we were actually known as the South Centers in 1991, actually, when it opened.
Before the turn of the century.
Before the turn of the century, before the turn of the key, actually, before we actually were allowed to be in the facility. So I was actually one of my first tasks as an employee there, before technology came about, was I actually put the locks in the doors.
Wow.
To become the first person in the building.
Wow.
So that was the first part. And then since then, it's spiraled ever since then. Some down, some up. You know how that goes. So
you're a key person at the university.
I am truly a key person originally, yes. And then since then, my jobs have evolved. I went from a research assistant there, and then became more and more involved with computers, because at the beginning there we only had a total of 4 computers, and they were actually called Next systems.
I remember those.
Yeah.
Is that one of Steve Jobs?
It was one. Yeah,
Okay.
it was an offspring of the Mac.
Mm-hmm.
They split. And that's
I never knew anyone that had one.
Yeah, we actually had 4 plus a server, and every screen was black and white, and we had one color monitor, and it was set on the server. So and it was a true server network. It didn't have its own hard drive or kind of thing. Everything went to the server, so it did that. And everybody kind of went to one machine for email and all this stuff. And then we kind of eventually everybody got on there to where they could get email from their own machines. And then we had one PC originally there.
One PC
and 4 of the Next computers.
Was it like a 286 or a 380?
Yeah,
the Kings, the premier.
The elite. It was a 286 with Windows 3.1.
Oh wow!
So
you were living like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then as it came through, we went more and more We got into more phone work, to where we advanced our phone systems to become all straight digital. We got more internet lines, we got more phone lines, to where we then had to jump into a PBX system. And every time that came about, our first director, he was the original computer guy, for say, and then I just kept walking by him off and on. He goes, "You seem awful interested in this stuff," and I said, "Yeah." I said, I kind of tinker with it, as a better term. And he goes, "You need to stop by here and somebody's got to learn this stuff." So that's where we started out at, and probably about 93 on.
So if you were a research assistant, that wasn't in computers.
That was not in computers.
Okay.
The research there was actually in aquaculture and horticulture, because that's what the facility had there, was an aquaculture program, a horticulture program, soil and water program, and then they had forestry and business as well.
So what did they use the computers at that time for?
At that time, a lot of that stuff was when they wrote their final papers. They created documents to where people could hand out and things like that. We didn't do a lot of
I wasn't sure
digital
if you were
work.
Crunching data that had to do with the fish or whatever.
Not as much as you would think. Right at the end, but not like during the whole progress. They would just compile it all on paper, really, and then at the end they would dump it into a statistical program like SAS or something like that, and then do that during the winter or something like that. But typically during the summertime, we never really used one at all there to speak of. So everything was paper and pen. So.
And so when you do research, research in aquaculture, what were some of the things that you researched?
In aquaculture?
Yeah.
In aquaculture, we did a variety. What we did some there were studies of what grew best in southern Ohio. Was it perch? Was it bluegill, or was it bass, or something like that? Now, we didn't go into all of the different varieties, but in most cases we were looking at varieties or species, I guess, if you want to call that way. And then since then, we've evolved into several other things. Like now we're looking at the different genes of fish, so to try to raise the dominant or the biggest fish for food consumption, really.
And so as you gravitated toward the computers, you saw the need for faster machines, especially in the research and the different equipment that is required. I know that Mike's background is very much into the videographic and the
graphic design and stuff like that.
Educational, whereas you're into also programmable kinds of equipment that helps the scientist.
Yeah, then we had what we used as data loggers, and they would stay out in the field, and we would put them in a plastic box, a watertight box, and then once a week or sometimes. Some of the programs required us to go out daily, but most of the time it was once a week or once every other week. We went out and took a laptop out and plugged into the data logger, because we didn't have wireless or anything to them like that. We would go out, plug it into the data logger, download the data, and then take it back in and continue the research there. Or that we would get all of our data that way.
Well, I know that for the most part, except for the Nextel systems, they became more and more IBM compatible.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I know that Mike uses a great deal of Apple, and both are really good computers. But I noticed something that I wanted to ask you for a long time. Apples don't seem to acquire viruses or malware or spyware as much as IBM's. Why is that?
Well, that's a good question, and I don't think that there's not any viruses out there for Apple or Mac, or depending on how you call them. I just think that there's fewer to where we versus 10 in the world. chances are you're not going to get it, versus 10,000 in the world for a PC or Windows-based system. And I think in some cases it's because of, I consider it as Windows being the dominant or the majority of the world, and everybody wants to knock down the big guys and cause trouble with those, okay, to a nutshell. And everybody, there's a lot of programs out there that just cater to PC, and they don't necessarily cater to a Mac in some cases.
And it's a more open design too.
Yeah, exactly.
Apple Macintosh has kept their
very
whole system
private.
and everything very closed.
Very closed. If there's anything, you have to buy it from Mac or something that is designed specifically for a Mac that way.
Right.
Yep. But versus PC, you can buy a PC is not necessarily Dell. It can be
it's a pile of parts.
It's a pile, exactly. That's a good. It's just a pile of parts in a white box. And today you consider them white boxes. You can go out and buy the pile of parts, put it together, and you've got yourself a PC. You can't do that with a Mac.
Oh.
You can't go out and buy.
That's
all
why
the
they work
parts.
so well, because they're designed together.
Exactly, they're designed together. You're right, but they also cost 3 times as much, or at least twice, depending on what you're getting.
Yeah, but if you compare a likely outfitted PC with a likely outfitted Apple, it's more close than what you would think.
True.
Because they put high grade parts in it. Video
right.
cards and all the stuff. Is better than what you would, your bottom dollar PC is.
I agree.
And then the other thing that I tell people in making up the price difference is the amount of time that you're going to be down and fixing it in the shop and all this other stuff. It just works.
Right.
And so it's very stable, and I rarely, in my 15 years of taking care of Apples here, I've had to take maybe 4 to get repaired.
Really, that's great. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's
I would rather be working with my machine than on my machine.
Yeah, true. I agree. Now, if that was the case, then I would be out of a job in
Right.
most cases. So I would have to come back to a farmer or go to some other business.
Well, let me ask you this: Why are spyware, malware?
What are they trying to do when they infect us?
Well, there's a variety of things, and a virus is much different than a spyware. Now, and people will also call it malware. Now, malware is defined as malicious software. So that can actually, it's a virus in a way. It could also be called a worm. A lot of people refer to them as worms, because if you have a network, or if you're on a network to where you can touch other computers through the internet or through your local network in your house or wireless or anything like that, you can transmit this worm, or it'll go by itself through the wires to it. But back to the virus, a virus is something that will spread throughout your machine and not necessarily make it stop running, but it just causes havoc.
But why would somebody write a program to make it do that?
Well, if somebody had that answer, that would be the $1 million question. There is.
I guess it's sort of like the same thing as this, the thing that happened in Colorado, the shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everybody asks why.
Why? Yeah.
Nobody knows why.
Nobody knows why, and
people are just mean.
People are just mean, and I think in the long run, I got to think in most cases somebody's getting paid to do this, and who, you don't know. Who's the funding? Who's the backing? You don't know that, and some of them are not. Some of them are just.
Yeah, but
okay. So how about spyware? That was viruses.
Virus. A spyware isn't necessarily considered a virus because it actually doesn't want to do anything to your machine. It actually sits in the background of your machine and collects information from you. So that way, if I created a piece of spyware and put it on Pat's computer, so when Pat actually went and did an online purchase, I could collect his credit card numbers, his social security number, things like that, and it would report back to me through the internet without Patrick even knowing. So that's more of your spyware, because it wants to gather information constantly from you and not actually hurt your computer.
And would you say that is closely related to cookies?
Not necessarily. A lot of times,
it tracks where you've been.
Yeah. Now, a lot of websites today, they require you to enable cookies on the machine.
What is
a cookie?
Yes.
Well, it's a little thing that has chocolate chips. No, it's a cookie is nothing more than a little text file that you get when you go to a website. Okay, and so the next time you go back to that website, it knows you and it says, "Oh, welcome, Patrick. Here's your weather for today because that's what you were there." And you go. It's something that you go back multiple times, and it identifies you as that.
I guess the reason it was called cookies is, remember back to I think Hansel and Gretel, where they were dropping crumbs along the way.
You're right.
And so it kind of traces you and
back and forth.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, and that doesn't necessarily, because that is a legitimate file. In some cases they don't do anything with that, but that's just something that the web providers or websites need to do. But some spyware programs will take advantage of that and actually gather those cookies. So now they know, oh, well, you go to the such and such bank now all the time. Oh, we need to rewrite this program because there's more people that's doing more online internet shopping or banking at National City or any of these other banks. So they will dedicate them to that.
Does it wait till it has a baker's dozen before it reports back?
No, it's not a baker's dozen in that case. It's a true So, yep.
Well, we've also heard about Google, about some of the network providers using spiders.
Spiders or crawlers?
Crawlers. You want to just touch upon what spiders and crawlers are?
Well, actually, those are more of what is on your website itself. So I know, you have a website, and actually what you're talking about Google doing is it's crawling your site for information. So it's not necessarily on your machine locally.
It's looking for keywords and things,
exactly,
so it can search better.
Yeah. So it's compiling its search engine. It's creating its library. So when you go to Google and type in Patrick Dengel, it knows to go to your website because you have more listings of Patrick Dengel on your site. That kind of thing. Okay.
Is it related? It may be off the subject. There's a program, I think it's called Shazam, where you can, and I'm sure YouTube and some other things have it, where you let your phone or whatever piece of equipment listen to a song, and it says, "Oh, I know what it is."
You know what it is. Yeah.
And I'm sure if you upload to YouTube, it kind of looks at the same sound file and tracks it. It's like, that is a known music file.
A lot of times crawlers are like that as well. Yeah. It knows, it gets information from you as what you're uploading, what's on your site. You upload MP3 files, or if you're uploading MP4 files, video files, so it knows that what's on your site.
Okay, so is that all we have to worry about?
There's so many things that you have to worry about that one of the least things that I would say you'd have to worry about is the crawlers. The things that we need to worry about are viruses, and obviously the spyware, because you don't want to get your information stolen. But also the things that actually
Google
hurt you.
And those guys are legitimate.
Those are legitimate, yeah. Depending on, everybody has a different opinion to yes they're good or yes they're bad for crawlers and such.
Yeah,
so
people sometimes are afraid of Big Brother looking in on them.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's we can't stop that. They're way beyond what we can do. So the only way what we can do to prevent us is obviously have a good, strong antivirus program, and not only an antivirus program, but something that also defends you against spyware as well. Now, whether you buy that as a package or you use separate programs, you use free programs.
So you really need two.
You need two, but some of them may come in a package together. So it might be just one, and everybody out there in the world knows Norton or Symantec or McAfee or Kaspersky or a variety of those that are big names out there in the world. But there's also these, not for a better word, but unknown software, such as AVG. They offer a free version for personal use.
Kind of generic.
Kind of generic, yes. But what they do is they do the exact same thing. They do scanning. They will catch not spyware. They will catch viruses. So what they do is they let their free programs do one thing and one thing only, and it's catch viruses. Now, if you want them to do the whole package, then you buy the whole package from them.
Are they expensive?
No, they're not expensive. $30, $40, somewhere in that neighborhood. And you know, obviously you have to renew every year. So, and then there's other ones out there that you can buy that's maybe 2-year programs or something like that, such. But then with the free programs, you also have to defend yourself against spyware. So other things such as Malware Bytes or Super Anti-Spyware, they both offer a free personal edition. Okay, so you can run 2 free programs, personal use.
Do these run all the time, or is this something you have to initiate?
No, they run all the time. They run in the background. They run in the background by your clock down there, just as your normal antivirus software would. And they sit down there and run, and obviously the one that's just dedicated to viruses will only look for viruses. They could care less if a piece of spyware comes in. So that's why you have to have the other one to defend off the spyware.
So what else can we do to save ourselves the headache of having to reformat because we got hit with a virus? Or
I would think we should buy every known software that protects it. Wouldn't that be good?
Well, that would actually be bad, because you don't want to run multiple virus protection programs on the machine. So you do not want to run, say, Norton antivirus and McAfee on your machine at the exact same time, because they actually fight each other and say, no, you're a virus, no, you're a virus, no, and then they ignore everything that comes in. So you actually do not want 2 of the same programs on your machine that is defending that stuff. So, but to get back to the other question of what else can you do, well, obviously, be smart about what you're looking at. Be smart about email. Email is probably the biggest culprit, and now coming on is obviously Facebook and things like that have excuse me, that have all of these links and videos built in.
Or apps.
And yeah, exactly. And all they do is say, here's a video, click, watch my video. And the first thing that I always tell people, and it happens to us almost daily, and is that, say, I get an email from Pat here, and all it says is, here's a video. I'd like you to watch this video. Well, the first thing and it's a link to click on. The first thing I ask myself is Patrick going to send me only something, a link that says watch this video? Second, I'll put my mouse over the link, and typically down at the bottom of the window, it'll actually tell you where that link really is. Because you can
or on
put
a Mac, you just hover over it.
You hover over it, yeah.
And then it shows up right next to it.
Right next to it. And it may be completely different than what it looks like in the link.
Just like if you get an email that says, hey, your PayPal account's been charged $4,000.
Exactly.
Oh my God! I got
click here to change your password.
To change or check on it, or eBay. You've won this item. Mouse over it. Don't click anything. Just and see what the
real URL is.
Right. A lot of times it might be an RU.
Yeah. A lot of times.
RU.
Like Russia.
Overseas. You see a lot of these from overseas, other countries and stuff.
Now, what about the king that's given me $160 million?
Oh, we get those daily. Yeah. Or
I talked to a banker once and asked him, it's dumb, but who would ever click on something like that? They promised me $10,000 if I gave them my account or something. Yeah. So they come into the bank wanting this information and wanting to cut them a check for whatever they asked for, and the bank says, "No, that ain't
That's not real.
This is not real. It's a hoax.
It's so,
and they swear up and down, and they fight with them, and
it's almost like counterfeit money.
I said, how much does that happen? It's like, oh, it's weekly.
Yeah.
It's like,
weekly.
Yeah.
Is it young people, old people? People don't know. Non-computer types that don't know any. No, it's across the board.
It's across the board. Yeah.
It's amazing what people click on. But and the other thing, I think, if it comes through the email, is an exe file.
Oh yeah.
Exe is an executable file, which is a program which who's going to send you a program, and that program is a virus.
Yeah, anything that has a .exe at the end or a .bat or anything like that, you definitely do not want to click on it, and you want to double check with whoever sent it to you, and pick up the phone and call them. Or in this case, in this world today, pick up your phone and text them and say, "Did you send this file to me?" And then I'm going to guess 99% of the time your response back is going to say no.
Well, it is interesting.
And you might look at your computer then, because your computer's sending me viruses.
Yeah.
Exactly.
About 2 years ago, I received an email. This lady was in England. And she had called over the phone and needed $1,000 because it got stolen. So I took that phone number and I did a search on it, and it was a number of different programs that are scams. So
you can Google all this stuff.
Yes.
If you just copy the text that's in the email and just Google that text, it will tell you that oh, that's a big scam.
Right.
And there's another thing that my wife got caught up on that she didn't tell me about until she done clicked it. Okay, she's on a little PC computer sitting on the couch just doing Facebook or whatever, and up pops this thing that says, "Hey, we found a virus on your computer. Do you want to eradicate the virus?"
Yes, we got hit by that. Yes.
And of course she went, "Well, sure."
Yeah.
And I told her, you know what the rule is with that one? If you didn't ask for it, you don't do it.
Exactly. Any antivirus software out there is not going to pop up and say, "Hey, you have this virus." It's going to catch it, and it's going to ask you, "What do you want to do with it? Delete it, quarantine it."
But this locked the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't click anywhere else, and if you click something, it initiates
it. Puts a false page on front.
And what you want to do with that is press your power key and hold the power key till it goes off and restart.
And in some cases, that's all you can do. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you should be back in business right after that.
Yeah, as long as you didn't click on it.
Right.
As long as
clicking is bad.
That is the tough thing to do. Is when that window pops up, the first thing they want to do is, scan my machine, and it always says you have 9,000 viruses that needs to be cleaned.
I better take care of that.
Yeah, and I actually know people that actually clicked it and said, and it wants you to purchase.
Yes.
It wants you to purchase it,
yes.
and they will clean it up.
Yes.
And they actually purchased it.
All it does is send $50 to whatever dingleberry is out there.
And the problem is they did it twice. Because the first time it didn't clean it up, and they went, well, here's another, and it was $40 at the time, and they said, we'll do it one more time, and they actually ended up spending $80, and then they called me, and they said, I just purchased this program to clean up my machine, but it keeps asking me for $40. And I said, well, for $40, I'll tell you how to fix it. So, but no, I didn't, but I told them what it was, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that," and they're very knowledgeable in the systems.
Dwayne, we were talking about one of your 4 points, and we have to have you come back because we're just about out of time. And I know you wanted to talk about being a successful techie and internet providers and things of that nature. But next time you come back, do you have anything you want to share to the listening audience before we wrap up on this week's show?
I guess the biggest thing that I can always give to people is just exactly what we talked about. Is just be cautious of what you're getting in email or what you're clicking on. The biggest thing is the clicking. Just stop, sit back and wait and see what it is before you click. And second is if somebody sends you something that looks kind of strange, well, it's strange. You know, why did Patrick send me a file or a link that says, watch my video? And that's it. You know, that's not common of anybody.
And so, the videos on Facebook always have these kind of, I don't know, interesting things.
Yeah.
Look at these worms that got under this person's skin. It's like, oh, I got to see that.
You've got to see that. And it's hard to resist. It is really hard to resist.
That's a bad thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the big thing is just to just sit back and wait. Give it a little time and think about what you're actually clicking on. Clicking is the thing that causes problems the most.
Yeah.
In the long run, is
watch your index finger.
Yes. Slow down.
Dwayne, thank you very much for coming on. Next week we're going to have Zach
Sharif.
He is the dean of the business department here at the University of Rio Grande. He's going to talk about adult studies program that is...
Was it the adult degree completion program?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a great program. Dwayne, again, thank you very much for coming. I'm Patrick.
I'm Mike.
And you are...
I would be Dwayne.
And thanks for watching.
Bye.